Hello everybody, it's me yet again, Sloth King. Did you all miss me? Anybody miss me? No? You all didn't? Oh, okay. But anyway, today we are going to be debunking yet again another video. This one is about a channel named Alex Studios, and this video is about apparently Viziepop making meta humor is mocking her fans. But before we begin this video, I just want to remind you all to drop a like, subscribe, and ring that weird bell on your phone so you won't miss any video. So yeah, let's begin.
Meta humor, a commonly used trope in fiction as of late. Meta humor is when a show becomes self-aware of itself and its cultural impact on real-life audiences. It tends to be funny when shows become self-aware, since it shows that the writers are aware of their show's impact on the community at large. However, as it's used in Hazbin, it really comes off like Viziepop is mocking her fans and critics. It comes off insecure.
Wait, hold on. You just explained the definition of what meta humor is about. It's about, creators and writers being self-aware, about the impact of the show. But when Viziepop does it, it's her being insecure. The video just started. Let's see.
Welcome back to Axel Studios, I'm Matt Cast. Today's video I want to discuss Viziepop's use of meta humor and how it's used in Hazbin Hotel comes off as a bit insecure about comic criticisms of her work, rather than the meta humor actually being funny.
I feel like this just boils down to I didn't find it funny. I feel like that's what it just boils down to.
First, we'll go back to Hell of a Boss to see the meta humor that is actually sort of funny to me and seems genuine rather than mocking her fans like Hazbin Hotel does. In Hell of a Boss Spring Broken episode, when IMP is debating on whether or not to allow Luna to come to Earth with them, she is seen as a secretary mostly throughout the show and does not usually come to Earth on their missions. However, Blitz points out that there are many freaks up there who drool all over Luna and many prey upon her in real life, to which the whole crew just ominously stares at the camera. In an admittedly very funny scene, I must say, this meta joke works because it's harmless and it's a self-aware joke on the, degeneracy of the community at times. The joke highlights how the community has a lot of gooners within it, specifically the furry side of the fandom, who goon to Luna more than what is deemed healthy or ethical. I have some friends who do that. The joke is funny because it breaks the fourth wall and it makes it canon that Luna is aware of the audience and just how much she's seen as straight gooner bait in the real world, for better or for worse. Another meta joke in Hell of a Boss, which is harmless and funny at least to me, was in the season 2 episode Starstruck. When IMP heads to LA, there is a popular influencer who Blitz impersonates named Brandon Ragers, something like that, or Brendan Rogers. I don't know if they use the actual name, but correct me if I'm wrong, which is a parody of Blitz's real life voice actor and YouTuber Brendan Rogers. The joke highlights Brandon's big ears, making them a massive trait in the episode, which is overall harmless and admittedly pretty funny, since Blitz is just impersonating his real life voice actor. This meta joke points fun at itself rather than insecurely mocking the community's criticisms like in Hazbin Hotel. As well, in Mission Zero of Hell of a Boss, during the remix of the IMP jingle, Viziepop is a self-insert in this scene and is seen getting ran over by IMP and getting turned into roadkill. Another self-aware joke about the cast, and it's overall pretty harmless and sort of funny in a way, I guess.
So sorry for that clip for being very long. Sorry for that, but I just wanted Alex Studio to explain it. Now I do understand where they're coming from, but again, I can just boil this down to you just found those jokes funny, but when Hazbin Hotel makes the same meta humor jokes, you just didn't find that funny, and you just boil it up to, oh, that's just Viziepop attacking her fans. Even again, and Hazbin Hotel does kind of the exact same thing, right? Am I wrong? I could be wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it's like, so I feel this just boils down to you didn't find like that Hazbin Hotel joke funny, but you found that Hell of a Boss joke funny. That's what it, to me, that's what it's kind of like boils down to. But again, I could be wrong. We'll just see what this meta humor joke is that bashed Viziepop's fans.
A couple of examples of meta humor comes off somewhat cruel and mocking of her film fans, rather than playfully playing into the whole, community at large. Rather, it comes off insecure and targeting to fans who critique her work.
When you use words like cruel, mocking, and insecure, you're kind of stretching it a bit over just a joke. And mind you, we don't even know what that joke is, but it's a bit of a stretch, but we're going to get to that joke, so maybe they're onto something.
The first meta joke I'll cover in Hazbin that was in season 2 that came off this way was everyone's favorite episode, that being episode 3, Behind Closed Doors, where everyone's favorite protagonist, and genius, Charlie invites Vox Tech to the hotel so she can stroke her own ego, and she was that being that she was right about redemption being possible without any evidence, to someone who's known for slandering and working with someone who SAs someone who is supposed to be her friend, who she boundary steps, but whatever.
Yeah, but at least she gets called out for what she did and realized what she did was wrong.
Arrives to the hotel, Velvet instantly starts to critique the hotel's fashion sense that she does with everyone, and says something that most fans will immediately recognize and, would even agree with. That being that Velvet criticizing the color palette of the hotel itself, saying that it has too much red. If you have been in the Hazbin community or, the whole Hell of a Boss community for any length of time, you would know that this is a real-life common criticism about the series, since the show's color is not dynamic whatsoever.
Wait, really? That's what you're whining about? That's the joke? Really? Are you really throwing a fit over that just because Velvet just said, "Oh, it's too red"? And that's like a common criticism, what the fans say, and in your interpretation, that's Viziepop being cruel and insecure. It's not really that deep. It's just a fourth wall joke. If you didn't find it funny, then you didn't find it funny. It's not really something to throw a whole fit about. Like, really? It's not that big of a deal in my eyes.
Whatsoever, at least when we're in hell. They're all varying shades of red. I agree with this criticism because while I do recognize that Hazbin takes place in hell, that doesn't mean everything needs to reek of this shade of red. It gets annoying. Having more dynamic coloring would definitely make the show much more visually appealing and would honestly just stand out.
Yeah, I do agree with that criticism, actually. Yeah, even though the show takes place in hell, it doesn't always have to be red. But the funny thing about this is that this season focuses on Vox, who is the main villain, and every time we see him, the environment changes to blue. So, I don't know what... So, did you watch season 2 at all? Actually, we also see more of Heaven too, and Heaven has more of like white and bright gold. So, they do change up the colors. Yes, it's still sometimes mostly red, but so they did listen to that criticism, and they actually throw in some bit more colors in it. Actually, look at the posters. In the season 1 poster, it's mostly red because we're following these characters. But when we look at the season 2 poster, it's completely blue because we're following Vox, the main villain, and Vox's entire aesthetic is mostly blue. So yeah, they actually did kind of listen to that criticism, and they made most of the environments blue when we follow Vox.
I actually hate this joke because it doesn't seem to be making fun of itself. It seems to be in turn making fun and, dare I say, even mocking her fans and critics. It's not calculus to understand that Viv gets, sort of tit for tat with her critics, particularly on X, seemingly not being able to ignore her critics at all, and feels an almost compulsive need to argue and take jabs at them on X. That could go on for multiple threads sometimes. Her including this in Hazbin not only seems to mock them, but it also comes off very insecure in a way, showing that this critique actually really bothers her, since it was living rent-free in her head enough to actually include into the show as a meta joke, rather than just ignoring the fans and the critics outright. I get Viv isn't the sole writer, but I can put money on the fact that she wrote this joke in there verbatim. Meta humor.
Again, I feel like this whole thing just boils down to you just didn't find it funny. If you didn't find it funny, cool. That's fine. It's your opinion if you didn't find it funny or not. That's cool. But for some reason in your head, this joke about the hotel being too red is Viziepop being insecure and being a whiny child about it and making fun of her fans. Like, it could literally just be the show making fun of itself, but in your eyes, that's not the case because it seems harsh and rude and mocking the fans. TV shows can make fun of itself. That a lot of shows have done that. So why can that not be Hazbin Hotel case? Maybe Viziepop was just making fun of her own show. Shows can do that. But no, that's just Viziepop being a whiny little baby and mocking her fans over just a simple fucking joke. It is not that deep. I'm sorry, it's not that deep.
Verbatim. Meta humor can be funny, but it comes off like how it was used in Deadpool and Wolverine at times, where Deadpool directly makes fun of fans for them being mad about dishonoring Logan's character arc from the Logan movie, even comparing Paradox to the internet when he gets rightfully mad about how Logan's memory was treated. I mean, he literally beat the shit out of TVA agents with Logan's dead body. I think it's funny personally because I like seeing people get mad because I don't know anything about Logan, but it still looks insecure. It's still fucked up. The same.
Yeah, but Deadpool's whole thing is that he's a gag character. In all three of his movies, he literally makes fun of himself and his fans about certain things. He even makes fun of lazy writing. That's Deadpool's whole. I don't really know if you think Deadpool's a good example though, because Deadpool's whole character is that he breaks the fourth wall all the time. He's a gag character, so I don't really think using Deadpool's really is a good example. Prove me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
And here, it feels more like insecure mocking than a harmless self-aware joke at itself. Another meta joke in Hazbin occurred in season 2, episode 4, It's a Deal. After Alistair's convoluted plan of getting taken in by Vox to get his power back and break his soul contract, which I believe me is a video for another day, he is essentially bound to in a cuck chair for the remainder of the season. In the episode, we are shown a montage of Vox's win kink, as I like to call it, where he shows off his victory over his boyfriend Alistair. Later in the montage, we see Vox taking his lover to 666 News to gloat about his perceived victory. He tells the audience that he has personally confirmed, I don't know how he did this, probably pulled down his pants, that Alistair does not have a tail. For those unaware, Alistair's demon form is supposed to be deer-based, since when he died, he was mistaken for a deer, which falls within the, demon forms being themed based on the nature in which they died, claws, as I like to call it. Off topic here, but I never knew he was a deer, literally until this season. His deer traits are so subtle or non-existent. The only times I could sort of see him being a deer is when he's in his demon form and he gains these big long antlers. But besides that, I literally can't tell. If you know anything about real life animals, you would know that many have tails, including deers.
Actually, I think there are some animals that are born without tails. Prove me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I feel like there are animals that are born without tails.
She debated whether or not he has a tail, with a lot of fans saying he should have a tail, as it would make no sense for him not to have one, considering he's supposed to be deer, inspired, and just not having one really wouldn't make much sense, right? Well, in this episode, not only does this meta joke end that debate once and for all, but Katie Killjoy directly looks at the camera and just says straight up, that's gonna piss some people off. Once again, directly mocking her fans and critics, almost glorying in the fact that she's annoyed some critics, with this perceived meta joke. Honestly, him having a tail doesn't even matter.
Wait, hold on. A second ago, you literally just said him not having a tail wouldn't make sense because, he's a deer inspired. So you said that, but now out the gate, you just said, oh, I don't really care if he has a tail. For me personally, I really don't care either way. If he does have a tail, I don't care. If he doesn't have a tail, I really don't care. To me personally, that shit doesn't bother me.
Him having a tail doesn't even matter, but it does seem she got into a scuffle with some fan at some point over it and felt a need to poke the bear once again instead of leaving this line out and just ignoring them. The meta humor in Hazbin just seems to be a lot more harsh and is often in direct response to fans and critics that personally annoy Viziepop herself, presumably, as I can't just tell she made these jokes to mock the fans rather than making fun of the show itself. Since these jokes are insecure in nature, since it's just showing that these critiques probably did really piss off Viv at some point, since it was in her head rent free enough to her to take the time to include them and have a direct jab at the audience. Even if she didn't actually write them, she was in the writer's room at some point and allowed that to pass. Do these meta jokes bother you and Hazbin?
Actually, no, this didn't bother me because in me personally, I just saw them as a meta joke. And I didn't make a whole fucking 8-minute video about it, making theories about, oh, this is Viziepop being insecure, this is Viziepop being a child. It's not that fucking deep. So, personally, this did not bother me. To me, it was just a joke. Why are we acting that there aren't other shows that constantly make fun of its fans? This has been done in nearly every show. Well, mostly every comedy show, I believe. But of course, when Viziepop does the exact same thing on her show, is oh, she's being an insecure monster, she's mocking the fans, oh, she can't take criticism. Like, it's just a joke. It's not that fucking deep. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. End off. You didn't have to make a whole video about it. But anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If I got anything wrong, please let me know down in the comments below so I can probably get it correct next time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.